My dear students, as we are talking about different components of interview, there are a few questions and subjects left behind. So another subject is the children. There are questions which are not recommended. You don't need to ask such kind of questions from applicant. Do you have any children? How many children do you have? What childcare arrangement have you made for your children? And do you intend to have a children in future? And when do you plan to have a children? If you have a children, will you return to work? Such kind of questions are very private, and it is not a good idea to ask such kind of questions. And these questions are not recommended at all. There is no recommended questions under this subject. Then there is another subject, that is a police record. The question which is not recommended. This is a very blunt question. Have you ever been arrested? So this is not a good question to ask, but there are some recommended questions. Have you ever been convicted? That is a much better question. Crime greater than a misdemeanor? Please explain. Note, applicants may not be denied employment because of conviction record. It doesn't mean that you have a conviction record and you would not get an offer of the job. So sometimes people are trying to hide such kind of information. Then there is a religion. The question which are not recommended. What is your religious background? What religious holidays you observe? Is there anything in your religious belief that would prevent you from working the required schedule? I don't think so that such kind of restrictions are in religion, and it is not a good idea to ask questions about the religion in the interview. So there is no recommended question under the subject of religion. So no need to ask any question about the religion. Then disabilities. Do you have any disabilities? Have you ever been treated for any following diseases? Do you have a physical, mental, or medical impediments that would interfere with your ability to perform the job for which you are applying? So these questions are also not recommended, and there is no recommended question in the disabilities. And then the photographs. Any question regarding that photo be supplied before hire. So question not recommended. None of the question recommended under the subject of photographs. Then languages, very important area, guys. Questions not recommended. What is your native language? How did you learn to speak? Such kind of questions are not recommended, but under the same subject, there are some recommended questions. What is the degree of fluency with which you speak, write in any language, including English? But my dear student, it is very much important that language must need to be job related. If this question is not job related, it is not a good idea to ask question about languages. Then military experience, question not recommended. Have you ever served in the armed forces of any country? What kind of discharge did you receive? These are very personal, blunt questions. There are some recommended questions you can ask, just an experience of the person to serve in the military forces or the armed forces. Then there are questions about organization. What clubs, organizations, or association do you belong to? These questions are not recommended, but question recommended are what clubs, organization, or association relative to the position for which you are applying do you belong to. For example, if you are going to be hired as a management consultant, you can ask about associations of the managers. So such kind of association must need to be job related, and you may ask question about organizations. Then there are some questions about references. Questions not recommended under this subjects are a requirement that a reference be supplied by a particular kind of a person, such as a religious leader. So these kind of questions are not recommended, but recommended questions can be, please provide the names, titles, addresses, and phone numbers of a business references who are not related to you other than your present or former employers. So you may ask such kind of questions. And in finance, do you have any overdue bills? Such kind of questions are not recommended at all, and there are none of the recommended questions under this subject. And then there are a few other areas like subject, education, not recommended questions. Are you a high school or college graduate? When did you attend high school or college? So recommended questions are question about the applicant academic, vocational or professional education, including the names and location of the schools, the number of the years completed, the degrees received, and the major courses of studies. Such kind of questions are recommended under the subject of education, but it's not a good idea to ask question, are you a high school or a college graduate? And another very important subject of the experience, questions which are not recommended, any question regarding experience unrelated to the job. If the experience is unrelated to the job, no need to ask such kind of questions. For example, you want to be a professor in the university, but you have worked few days or few months in the pizza delivery while doing your PhD. So it is not a good idea to ask about your experience of a pizza delivery during your PhD. So better to ask a question if someone was a teaching assistant during the PhD degree. So you can ask questions about the teaching assistant rather than asking a question about the pizza delivery. So recommended question, any question regarding relevant work experience can be asked very easily. My dear students, in conclusion, all of the components which we have discussed so far are very much important to consider while conducting an interview, because it would enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of the interviewer, and it would help company to reach on the effective selection decision.